Well, hello everyone. I'm Jerry McKee, and it's Monday night. It's prime time with Jerry McKee, and we have got a great uh, guest tonight. He is one of Elvis's biggest fans, so big that in 1977 he wrote a song called "The King Is Gone." He recorded it, and it went and sold 6 million copies. That led to his even appearance going on Dick Clark, the American Bandstand. I know that all of us older folks knows that. But over the years, he's charted more than 30 top 40 hits on Billboard's country chart. He enjoyed two number one records on the country charts, Older Women and You're Gonna Ruin My Bad Reputation, while 11 more records went to top 10. All of this, all he recorded more than 20 studio albums. Wow. And you're going to say, well, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Well, his name, and you recognize him here in Union because he's played here in Union before, and his name is Ronnie McDowell. Ronnie,
Live in color.
live in color. I
Yeah.
remember that saying.
Oh, yeah. We all remember every Sunday Walt Disney coming on, and then the world.
Well, Ronnie, you went out. Hold on, folks. He must have clicked a switch.
Sorry, there's somebody was calling in.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
No problem whatsoever.
Hey,
And I,
Jerry.
I had to look around and see. Wait a minute, did I pull a plug?
Hey,
'Cause I
Tyler.
before.
I got cut off.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at Ronnie McDowell. That's who I thought would give an
Hey,
introduction
Tyler.
to. Now, can you hear me? I can't hear you now. He's going to switch back on here.
Lord have mercy.
There you go. Hey, Ronnie, you don't know how many times I
Hey,
have done stuff.
Tyler.
Can you hear me?
Tyler. Yo.
Now we can hear
Tyler.
we can hear you. He can't hear us.
Tyler. Tyler.
That's okay. We'll wait on you.
Oh, me.
That's okay, Ronnie. We can
Tyler.
still we can hear you. It's just you can't hear us.
Yo, Tyler. Tyler.
See, folks, it happens to all of us. That's okay. Yeah, I think it's just your need to be on speakerphone.
Tyler.
Tyler got him set up for this right here, and he'll be back in a moment. He's going to tell you some great stories here too. He was telling me some before we got on air, and we could hear him, but he can't hear us, so he's got to get us. I think his son back in there to kind of get him worked on. That's okay.
Well, no, it stopped.
Did you hear me here? Can you hear
Hello.
me now? Can you hear me now?
We're gonna.
All right, he went off, but he'll be back. Here he comes back. Go up here. Click
Jerry,
right.
Jerry,
There you go.
somebody called in. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That is perfectly okay. Hey, Ronnie, I tell you, you'd be surprised how many times I forgot to plug a cord in.
Yeah.
I did a long interview and looked and I says, "Oh, somebody saying no sound." I said, "Wait a minute, I forgot to plug in." So hey, it happens. Don't worry about that.
Sorry.
That's fine. Now, you were only like 6 years old when Elvis records started playing and getting airplay. With that said, what a, what accounts did you have with this fascination about Elvis? I mean, you was young when he was. I mean, had all this airplay.
Oh yeah, my sister used to bring home all the records, Jerry, from Randy's record shop in Gallatin, Tennessee, which was owned by Randy Woods, who had Dot Records. And she would bring home Little Richard and Fats Domino and all these wonderful artists that I loved. And one day she brought home Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. And I kept listening to Hound Dog over and over. And my mother, she she was always working. So all I ever knew that she did was work. She's getting ready to go to work at a cafe, and she come on and took that needle off of that record, Hound Dog. She said, "You ain't listening to that no more. You've listened to that enough." Well, when she went out and got in a cab, Jerry, I turned the record over and it was "Don't Be Cruel," and I haven't been the same since.
You got bitten by the Elvis bug.
Well, I think the whole world did. Yeah, I loved all those other singers, because I have a lot of inspirations. Hank Williams, Jackie Wilson, the list just goes on and on. But there was something different about Elvis's voice. To this day, I don't think me or the whole world knows what that was. But just for example, I checked into this restaurant the other day at the counter, and there were two young girls, and on my phone, I have Barney Fife as my phone saver picture. I love Barney.
Oh yes.
And he got that look on his face, like he's a nut. And so I asked those girls who were waiting on me, I said, "How old are you girls?" That one said 17. I said, "How old are you?" She said 19. I showed them, I said, "Do you know who this is?" And they said, "No." I said, "You trying to tell me you don't know who Barney Fife is? That's un-American. That's Americana." So all of a sudden, I showed them a new painting I did of Elvis.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Do you know who this is?" And both of them goes, "Well, that's Elvis Presley." So they don't know Barney Fife, but they know Elvis Presley.
Oh yes.
So my point to that, Jerry, is that guy, that boy had no earthly idea what an impact he had on the world almost a half a century later after he's gone.
That's right. And it's still impacted.
Oh yeah, I was in Cracker Barrel this morning, and if you they got a little cartoon book, Elvis Presley. I,
Wow.
it's just amazing how this guy just keeps going on and on,
Now,
and just all it never ceases to amaze me.
now, did you ever get to meet Elvis or go to any of his concerts or get to see him?
I never laid eyes on him. I was telling a friend of mine this morning how when I got out of Vietnam, I'm a three-term combat veteran,
Well,
and when I got out in May of, pardon,
thank you for your service.
hey, thank you. When I got out of Vietnam, I landed in San Diego where I checked out, left the service, and I never will forget when I had a little Volkswagen. I went and got me a little white German Shepherd puppy. She wasn't even weaned. I always
Oh,
wanted a little white German Shepherd. So I looked in the wanted ads and I went and picked her up. She got underneath the seat. I couldn't get her out because she wasn't weaned. Well, we made it to Needles, California, the hottest place in America. And luckily, it got to the top of the mountain, Jerry. And all of a sudden, a rod started knocking in the Volkswagen, but we coasted into a motel. And
oh no. I think he's popular when someone's calling him. He'll be back on just a moment. You see?
called Jamie and tell her to stop calling.
Hey, can you hear me now? Whoops. I went again. He's a busy man. He pops in and out.
So bad. I told that somebody keeps calling me, and I told Tyler to call him. Please tell him that I'm doing a podcast. I apologize again.
That's okay. I just tell people you're just popping in and out.
Yeah, sorry,
Good
but
man.
but I was going to tell you there is an end to this story because me and that dog coasted down that hill, and as soon as I got to a motel, I couldn't get that dog out from underneath that seat. I hadn't slept in 3 days in my uniform and everything. I just fell on that bed and woke up the next morning, 8 hours, and I ran out there and opened that door, and that dog popped out. Went to the Volkswagen place, and the guy said, "Well, I'll give you $50 for it." I said, $50? He said, "That's all I'm giving you." I said, "Hand it over." So me and my duffel bag and that dog started hitchhiking, and this Volkswagen bus with flowers all over it picked us up, and it was American Indians. They said,
Wow.
"Where are you going?" I said, "Vegas. I want to see Elvis." They said, "Well, that's where we're going. Get in." Well, as soon as I got in, I laid my head on that duffel bag and I was out like a light. They could have robbed me, killed me, but they were just so nice. And they woke me up and said, "Hey, we're in Vegas." So I put that dog in a pen at the airport, and I got out to a cab and I said, "Take me to the International Hotel. I want to see Elvis." So when we got over there, that big sign said Charlie Pride.
Oh,
So
no.
so I told Charlie after I got to know him, which he was one of my best friends. I told him that story. He said, "So what you're trying to tell me is you didn't want to see me." I said, "Charlie, no offense, but I was the biggest Elvis fan that's ever been on the planet." But I told a friend that I was eating with this morning that wasn't meant to be, Jerry. It just
Right.
wasn't.
Yeah. It's another time. And
Yeah,
I know you made a record about Elvis called "The King Is Gone," and
yeah.
what gave you an inspiration in writing it? I know he's passing away, but I know you're a great writer in songs. How did
Thank
you
you.
get these inspirations in writing these songs?
Well, I was driving down the road August 16th. I just rehearsed with my band. Elvis had out Moody Blue at the time. And so after we got through, I told the boys, I said, "I want to learn an old Elvis song." So we learned Return to Sender.
Mm.
Got in a car, and I was driving over in Nashville. And I never will forget this, Jerry, because it was 2:22 in the afternoon. Turned the radio on. DJ goes, "Elvis Presley has passed away." I didn't believe it. I turned it
Wow.
on all the stations. They were all talking about it. And this just started coming out of my soul, not just my heart. And I was barely 6 years old when I first heard him sing. And somehow I knew from that moment on it'd be a lifetime thing. So that every bit of that just poured out that talking part. So I flew to Memphis the next morning. I said, "If I can't see Elvis alive, I'm going to see him lying in state." Got in line at 8:30 in the morning. At about 3 o'clock, they shut the gate, and I was only 10 feet from the gate.
Oh,
And
wow.
all people started rioting. It was, you'd had to have been there. And I went, "Nah, I don't want no part of this." So on the way back to Nashville, I turned the radio on, and this guy goes, "Well, they've opened the gates back up." So I come on back to Nashville, and I walked into the Scorpion Records office where I was signed as a writer and an artist. And there was a guy standing in there by the name of Lee Morgan. And Lee said, "Ronnie, let's do an Elvis tribute." And I said, "Lee, I ain't wearing no jumpsuit." And he said, "No, man, that ain't what I'm talking about." He said, "Listen to what I wrote." I listened to it and I said, "Well, Lee, listen to what I wrote." And what we did, just combined it together. 2 nights later on Thursday, we went in and recorded it. And he had it all lined up. And this piano player come over and said, "Why don't we do it a little like Are You Lonesome Tonight?" So it was in that mode. Well, I was singing it like Ronnie McDowell. And Lee Morgan come over and said, "Ronnie, I've been coming to see you at this club here in Nashville." And he said, "When you do an Elvis song, you sound a lot like him." He said, "You ought to do it like that." And I said, "Well, Lord, no, why would I want to do that? I want to do it like myself." Well, again, had I not done that, it would not have worked because everybody thought it was Elvis singing about his death.
Mm.
So here's the best part of that story, and this is the truth. The next day, I had 8 acetates made, those great big old records you could make for $8 a piece. Well, that night, Lee Morgan walked out of the studio and he said, "Ronnie, you're going to have to pay for this. I ain't got no money." I said, Lee, I ain't got but $40 to my name. So, but I did have checks, and I wrote $2,800 worth of hot checks to pay for that record.
Wow.
Well, guess who owned that studio, Jerry? Here's how fate works. Fate is a hunter.
Yes.
Guess who owned that studio? Scotty Moore, Elvis Presley's guitar player. I didn't know that at the time. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So then I had those acetates made, and here's another irony. So I went straight with one of those acetates to a little radio station called WENO in Madison, a half a mile from Colonel Tom Parker's house.
Wow.
And I went in there and I said, hey, would y'all play this? And they said, this girl said, no, we don't do that off the street. And I said, well, it's about Elvis. She said, well, hold on. She went back and the DJ said, come here. You stand right there. I'm going to play this. See if you get any reaction. And he played it and all the phone lines lit up. And he had to play it for 3 solid hours. Well, I left there, Jerry, and guess where I went? Straight to my mother, who was mopping a floor at a truck stop. She had 11 of us. I'm number 7. She worked 3 jobs trying to take care of all of us. My mom and dad divorced in 55. So I walked in and my record was playing everywhere. It just exploded. And mother was mopping a floor, Jerry. I said, Mother, take your apron off. You never have to work again. She said, son, can't you see I'm working? I said, no, Mother, you don't ever have to work anymore. And so this truck driver had heard the King is Gone on the radio. He said, Georgia May, don't you know what's going on with that boy? She said, no, what? And I said, Mother, come out to the car. She came out there, Jerry. I turned the radio on and that song was on every station. And she never worked again till she died. And so why did Elvis want to do what he did? For his mom and dad.
Exactly. It's kind of ironic the way that turned out, isn't it?
Yeah, and by proxy, he didn't know it, Jerry, but he did it for my mother.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, people don't realize how sometimes God works. Somebody must be calling him again. He'll be back in just a moment. As a good story is telling like that. Somebody called in and didn't let it ring long
I
enough.
told you to please call her and
I
tell.
texted her and I turned it off. It's on. What is she's probably on something.
Man, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You don't need to apologize whatsoever. I think it's funny. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I'm sorry. I am popping
I've done
in and
it.
out.
I've done this so many times where I've been knocked off the air, done all this stuff here. Hey, I know exactly how technology and things go, and I'm just glad to see someone else having it.
Well, again, I'm sorry, but
But
that was the best part of that King is Gone story.
yeah, and what gets me is how things moved in place. Because Elvis loved his. Hold on a second. Let me answer this right here. Somebody wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Hello.
Call from. This is Barbara Rigby. To accept, press 1. To send a
Hello.
Hello, Barbara. Barbara, can you hear us?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Barbara.
Barbara, can you hear him?
Oh, this is Ronnie. I thought I was going to talk. Huh?
Well, you're talking to Ronnie and Jerry.
Ronnie?
You're talking to both of us.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. See, I thought I was going to talk to the one, Jerry McKee from down here that was doing this, and then he was going to dial you and all this. So
Oh,
anyways, I don't know exactly what he was wanting me to say and do, but he wanted us to talk for a little bit, I think. Didn't he? What did he tell you?
well, what I told him, and Barbara, I can hear you too. And what I told him, he's got number one fan that's going to be calling him. That's probably the longest fan in the world.
Yep, we said
Well,
that.
you know,
Bar,
I am.
Barbara
Well,
came to see me 40
because
something, well, almost a half a century ago.
well, that's right. When I started following you, I was you were 27. I was 43, and
Yeah.
now, or I hate to tell your age over the phone, so maybe I shouldn't do it because them fans might get mad with me. But we're still glad that you're out on the road still at 74, can sing just as good as you did when I met you when you were 27 years old. And Ronnie, don't forget, I'm 90 and a half right now.
Well, I
So
know that, Barbara, but you sound a little prejudiced.
I'm not prejudiced, you know good well I'm not. But
I know, but I
well, I might,
appreciate you.
I might be, But one
Well,
thing about it, though, like you said, for us to really enjoy this for all these many years and just have the friends that you had, and to think that you would do your show autograph for everybody. I don't care how many was there and it was in the line, they got an autograph or a picture of Ronnie McDowell, which is my number one.
Well,
and I
Barbara, he don't look like he's 74 for sure. He looks like he's like early 60s or something like that, maybe even late 50s like that. I mean, he's taking good care of himself. He looks good.
well, thank you, Jerry.
That Yeah, right. And stuff. I forgot about Jerry. But Jerry, you remember, Lord help us, a group of us would stand at that bus and make you wait before you let Ronnie get on the bus so we could talk a little bit longer to him and make pictures.
I
I
think
know if I had all the pictures I took of him before we got cell phones, I bet you I got 1,000 or more. Oh, well, I'd have more than 1,000. Y'all know that.
you know,
And
Barbara.
whatever.
He
But
said when you talked to him before he got on the bus like that, he missed 3 concerts.
Well, Barbara, hey, I love you and thank you for calling in. Okay.
well, wait just 1 minute now. Just do this little dab for me. Since
Okay.
I'm old and I love you to the moon and back. Sing
Eh,
just a couple of lines of older women.
Okay. Older women are beautiful lovers. I said older women. They understand. Yes, they do. And they do. And older men are grateful, by the way.
Yeah, I know every band is. That's right. But
Yeah.
I'll let you go so you can talk to some of your other fans. And don't forget that we all love you to the moon and back. Okay.
And I love y'all too and love you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Love you too, Jerry. Bye bye,
Love you
honey.
too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
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 She's very, very sweet lady.
Yes, she is. Lord, you wouldn't believe, Jerry, what a heart that woman's got. She got the biggest heart.
Well, I'll
She's
tell
one
you
of
what,
the,
she has really been a blessing to the university here and some of the others. I
yeah,
mean, a good Methodist. She has just been amazing.
yeah.
Uh, we just love her there. She'll call me once in a while. She'll find a picture or something like that I've done or something. And she'll call me up and says, "I ran across this right here."
Yeah, she's quite a character.
Yeah, you know, you're a great singer and a songwriter. But something I just found out that I didn't know till I really went on your website and looking that you are a great painter.
Well, thank you. I've been drawing. My first remembrance of drawing was in the first grade. I drew a big old red fire engine from my first grade school teacher. And when she passed away a few years ago, I went out to the hospital, Miss Reddick, and I said, Miss Reddick, I said, is any way, do you still have that big old red fire engine I drew? She said, I do. I kept everything all you children ever did. And I was just blown away. And I said, I'd give my eye teeth to have that. And she goes, nope, nope. You've made a name for yourself. I'm passing it down to my kids. But I would have, I'd love to just see that. When that was 1956.
You know, you painted a picture of Elvis and Donnelly. Let me pop it up here a second. People see what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right there. I mean, to me, that is some detailed picture. Now, I got to ask you, when you gave this to Dolly, when Dolly first seen it, what'd she do?
She screamed and hollered, and this is a crazy thing about this. I I called her one time and I said, Dolly, what'd you ever do with that painting I gave you, the original, which was huge? She said, well, Ronnie, I hate to tell you, but I still got it in a warehouse. And I said, a warehouse? I said, is there any way you could give me that back? And she goes, yeah, I'll send it back to you tomorrow. And the next day, she sent it down on a truck. So when COVID hit, I was showing some of my paintings on the streaming, like what you're doing. We stream on the weekends when I'm not on the road. And I showed that painting, and a lady came to the Donahoe in Red Bowling Springs. She said, what do you want for that? And I said, I told her the price, and she said, I'll take it. And so I sold it to a lady named Gracie in Hornbeak, Tennessee.
Well, that was a beautiful painting. Wow. I mean, and if people don't know, you need to go on his website and look at some of the paintings he's got there. Now, you also painted a picture that I'm going to ask you about, and I don't know if you've ever seen George Jones on the lawnmower and getting pulled over for DUI or not, but I thought this was pretty funny. I'm going to pop that up here also. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that painting. That's been a huge selling painting since I painted it. And George actually called me, Jerry, and asked me to paint that. And I just thought it was a great idea. And as soon as he called me and told me that, I said, George, I said, I see it right now. So that was in October. I had finished it. He called me up Christmas Day. He said, son, you got my painting done? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, bring it over. I said, well, George, it's Christmas Day. He said, well, what better day? And so when I got over there that day, Jerry, George looked at that painting, I'm telling you, for 30 minutes. And he finally said, now, what do I have to sign? I said, nothing, George. I said, I just want to sell prints. He said, son, you sell all the prints you want for the rest of your life. You don't have to ask anybody. And that's how grounded and humble he was. You know who else told me the same thing? Dolly Parton. And, little did I know, just a year ago, this month, Dolly put me on her rock star album, which just now went gold and platinum. So
Wow.
I'm on Dolly's album. And here's the irony of that. You know what the song's called? She wrote it. Me and her doing a duet, track 28. They called and said, guess who track 27 is? I said, I don't know. They said, did you ever dream you'd be on an album with the Beatles, Paul McCartney? And they said, track 29 is Judas Priest. And
Wow.
Fleetwood Mac's on there, Steve Perry, Elton John. I mean, Leonard Skinner, anybody that you can imagine, she put them on that album. And I was blessed to just be on there. Can you believe that?
Man, that's blessings. Just keep coming at you. That is great.
Yeah, and it's like Elvis. Just I can't get away from this guy, but I don't want to. From the very moment I heard "Don't Be Cruel," but I got to tell you this. Remember, I told you it was 2:22 in the afternoon when I heard that.
Uh-huh.
So we were down at Elvis's house at the Audubon House, where the new Elvis painting. I wish I could show you that. I call him the new Uber driver. He's turning around in an old truck like, hey, where do you want me to take you? He looks like a driver. But anyway, it's the best painting I've ever done of him. My son Tyler and I did it. And I cannot believe that Mike Curb, who has Curb Records, signed me last year again, and which was a blessing. And he called me and said, Ronnie, that new painting you got of Elvis, let's hang that over the couch. So see, Jerry, remember when I told you fate is a hunter? It found me again. And my son called me. Well, that night I took everybody out that was helping me with the band, and that Thursday night before we did the podcast on Friday and Saturday. And never will forget when I got the bill, I paid for it. And guess how much it was? $222. And I said, this is not coincidence. So the next, when my son Tyler was coming home in his vehicle, he called me up and said, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? And he said, from Elvis's driveway to our driveway in Hendersonville, it's 222 miles.
Oh,
And
wow.
he said, and guess what? I said, what? And he said, that ain't the end of it. He said, guess how many miles I had left of gas? 222 miles. So, but if you Google that, and it says if you see the number 222, that means your guardian angel is looking out for you. And I truly believe that.
Oh yeah, and you could have rushed right out then and went to a lottery ticket and got to put 222 in.
Well, get this. Back in February the 22nd, which is 222, I woke up, looked at my Mega Millions, and I had three or four numbers, and I thought, I bet that's $20. So I went to the store and it put that in there, and it goes, woohoo. This girl goes, you do realize you just hit that for $500? And I said, well, it is 222.
Oh man, yeah, that's your number.
Boy,
Sure is.
that is definitely my number. Sometimes I wonder. I got years ago, I was working in Tunica at the Horseshoe, and I got me one of them cars that had a new navigation system. Well, Jerry, I didn't. The only thing I knew was to punch in Nashville or punch in Memphis. So I was leaving Memphis. Now get this. Now this is the truth. So this car just kept taking me through all these back streets of Memphis, and I kept thinking I need to get on the interstate. Well, all of a sudden, I was back in these residential areas, and this voice in that car said, "Turn right." So I turned right, and I was going down this tree-lined street, and all of a sudden, she said, "You have arrived at your destination." Guess where it was? 1034 Audubon Drive, Elvis's house. So I got out of that car and I stood there and looked at that house and I said, Elvis, what do you want with me? And here I was 3 weeks ago back in that house again.
Man,
Yeah.
that's and all this started from you was just a child. That's the
Yeah.
good thing. Looked like I might have froze up there. But now, how can people buy your paintings? Where can they go in there to see them and purchase your paintings?
RonnieMcDowellArt.com. That's it.
Yeah, let me see if I can't. There we go. Seem like I'm frozen up there, Ronnie. Look like mine's
Well,
doing some crazy stuff. Oh
well,
well,
we were talking about 222. There you go.
that's it. Let me fast here. Okay. Well,
Are we there?
I'm sorry. See,
Oh,
there I
that's all
went.
right.
I clicked the button wrong, but it's got me frozen some other on the screen. But anyway, that's all right. You're not frozen.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
on Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
Now you talking about? I read somewhere where he gave you some good advice. What was that advice?
He was always giving me advice. I opened his shows for 8 years. I was in your state. Are we still there? Hello. Hey, Tyler. Okay.
That's some weird stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, we was talking about that 222, but it doesn't amaze me. It doesn't shock me. It never stops. But that's okay. But I was telling you, Conway, I was over in your country in 77, and guess who opened up for me? Miss Teenage America. So one night after the show, she and I were talking. She said, Ronnie, my name is not Jessica Lang. She said, I'm Conway Twitty's daughter, Kathy. I said, you got to be kidding me. She goes, you come down to the office Monday morning and I will let you meet my dad. When I walked in there, Jerry, he stood up and he took my hand. He said, son, how would you like to open up my shows? I said, twist my arm. And I did for 8 years.
Wow.
But
That
he always wanted me to ride with him. He literally was like my dad, and that's the truth. He'd get on to me too, boy. But I listened to him. But one day we was going up to Louisville, and I was sitting up in front of the bus with him and Billy, bus driver, Billy Parks, and Conway goes, I see where you're going to be on the Ralph Emery show Monday. I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, here's what you need to know. I said, what's that? And he said, when that red light comes on, they're going to know who you are. I said, what do you mean? He said, the camera bears your soul. They'll see who you are. And I've never forgotten that, because sometimes when I'm watching TV or something and I see politicians or somebody, I'll be like Dracula and I'll go, ew. And Conway was right. And I really do, when Elvis was on the Ed Sullivan Show and Steve Allen and the Dorsey shows, I really think the world saw who that boy was. I know I did. I
Yeah.
literally saw who he was.
Now, did you went on the Dick Clark show?
Yeah, I was on American Bandstand and doing The King Is Gone. And I've got a picture of it, Jerry, where Dick is looking up at the wall. He goes, let's see what Ronnie McDowell has to offer this week. And I was number 9. And I told him, I said, Dick, I can't believe I'm on American Bandstand. He said, Ronnie, you're number 9. You've sold 1 million records in a week. He said, that's unheard of. You deserve to be here. I said, well, I sure appreciate it, because I'm so glad y'all pantomime, because I don't know this song that well. It's only about 2 weeks old. He said, Ronnie, we don't do that anymore. You'll have cue cards under the camera. But if you Google me, Jerry, I never missed a note or a syllable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And not to interrupt, but Dick Clark and I became friends from that moment on till he died. He called me one time and said, Ronnie, I'm flying you to California, and you're giving Michael Jackson his award for his Thriller album. And then he called me up and said, yeah, which I did. And then he called me up in 78 and he said, Ronnie, I'm doing a movie about Elvis Presley starring Kurt Russell. He's going to portray Elvis. And I said, are you talking about that Disney actor? I said, well, Dick, he don't look nothing like Elvis. He said, well, let me send you his screen test. And when he did, I was literally blown away. And I said, I'm in. So I did 38 songs in that movie. And it was some movie of the year. It did reach 42 million people.
Wow. That
Yeah.
I knew that you got like 30. And there's another movie you did some music to too, about 30 songs or so in it.
Well, I did Elvis and Me with Priscilla, and that's when I got to know
Right.
Priscilla.
No.
Yeah, I did 36 songs in that one. And then I did Elvis Meets Nixon, Elvis and the Beauty Queen. I was Elvis's voice in an ABC TV series. And I have a friend up in Baltimore, Steve Jeppy, who owns Baltimore Orioles and the world's largest comic book distributorship. He called me one day and he said, I need to remind you of something. I said, what's that, Steve? Because Steve said, Ronnie, here's the way my life is: God, family, country, and Elvis. And that's it. So he's a bigger Elvis fan than me. And he said, do you realize you've been the voice of the biggest star that's ever been on planet Earth? And I said, well, never really thought about that much. And he said, you need to think about that.
Wow. You know, Elvis didn't like being called the king, did he?
No, he said that was Jesus Christ, the Lord, and he was right. And no, he didn't like that at all. He didn't. He was a very religious man.
Right. Now, when you
Yeah.
work with Scott Moore and DJ Fontana and like that, did they tell you some stories about Elvis? I bet they could tell
You,
some
you
good
know,
ones.
I worked with them and the Jordanaires for 40 years. And so they told me some stories that would boggle everybody's brain if you're an Elvis fan. A lot of them I can tell, a lot of them I can't, and I wouldn't. But I'll tell you this one. DJ and Scotty said when they would travel in that old 53 Chevy with the fender skirts,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
he said there was no air conditioning. He said Elvis never wore socks, and said he had the stink in his feet. And we'd take, while he was sleeping, we took his shoes and threw them out. And when he'd get in town, he'd have to buy him a new pair of shoes.
Oh, man.
So, it's just funny stories like that. But, there's a lot of stories that I wouldn't tell. But it was really neat working with all them guys, like Miss Millie Kirkham, who sang on so many of Elvis's records, but she sang on Blue Christmas in 56. And Elvis didn't want to record that because he loved Ernest Tubb, because when he went to the Grand Ole Opry, October the 10th, 1954, the guy that was running the Opry literally told him to go back and drive a truck, literally. And it broke his heart. He went in the dressing room, threw his shirt off in the garbage can, And Scotty, he was so funny. He told me this a bunch. He said, if I knew he was going to be Elvis, I would have got that shirt out of that garbage can. But well, the rest of that story is Ernest Tubb come up to him, and he had heard what that guy said. And he said, son, you're just different, and it's okay to be different. He says, matter of fact, you come over to my midnight jamboree tonight, and you sang your new record, and you do Blue Moon. They wouldn't let him do That's All Right, Mama. They said that was too pop. Well, it sounded just like his version of Blue Moon of Kentucky. Well, so he went over there and did that, and he sent Ernest Tubb a Christmas card every Christmas till he died for being nice to him. And you know, Jerry, yourself, you know it when you're little. If a teacher's mean to you, you never forget it. But you also remember the people who were nice to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely makes a big impression. That's why they remember. I'd rather be remembered being nice than I would being mean.
Well,
That's
the only thing we're going to carry with us, if somebody walks by your grave and somebody's going to say, well, there wasn't a very nice guy. Or they're going to walk by and say, that was a good old boy right there. Other than that, that's all we're taking with us.
I'm going to ask you about this song that you wrote here. You're going to ruin my bad reputation. Uh, Now, was this song written about you?
Well, let me tell you what about that song. I didn't write it. A young boy wrote it. And I never will forget. He had written Wandering Eyes. No, that was Jamie O'Hara. But anyway, this boy wrote the song, You're Going to Ruin My Bad Reputation. And I liked it, but we did it slow. It was a slow version on my Personally album. So my producer, Buddy Killen, said, Ronnie, we got to have an up-tempo hit record for you. So I was in Baltimore with Conway Twitty and my band at the time, the Kentucky Headhunters. So it was a Sunday, and we went down the basement of this Coliseum. And I said, boys, there's a song on my album, Personally, You're Going to Ruin My Bad Reputation. Let's work up an up-tempo version of it. We did, got back to Nashville. I played Buddy, the little version we did. I went on Hee Haw that next week and debuted that song. And Mr. Lovell, who was producing that show, he walked up to me. And of course, I was in the cornfield, Roy Acuff on that show. And you know that song we all sang, I've searched the world over and I thought I found true love. You met another and you were gone. But anyway, Roy Acuff spit in my face like you wouldn't believe, just to aggravate. But Mr. Sam Lovell walked up to me, Lavello, and he said, Ronnie, that's going to be a #1 record for you. And it was.
Whoop. That's Pat Quinn. I don't know if you remember Pat Quinn.
I do.
He tried. I think he hung up all of a sudden. He'll call back. Now, you kind of grew up a little bit exposed more to kind of like a rock and roll than you would country. What kind of switched you over to country?
No. In 53, when I was 3 years old, I was walking around the house at 3 singing Your Cheating Heart. And the boy next door, you know, him and my older brother, they were sitting on the back porch. I never will forget this as long as I live. And I was singing Your Cheating Heart at 3, and the neighbor boy said, Jerry, your little brother can sing pretty good. And I've just always been the biggest Hank Williams fan on the planet.
Call from. Hi there, it's Pat.
Pat Quinn,
Hey, buddy.
how you doing? How's South
I'm
Carolina?
good. How are you?
How's the beach?
The beach is beautiful. It's 74, sunny, and blue skies. I don't think you could get it any better today.
Well, that's good. Well, you know who the guy is beside me here, Ronnie McDowell.
Hey,
Oh,
Pat, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, McDowell. Hey, brother.
You're
How's it
doing
been?
good. I've been doing wonderful. Just been wearing the road out. I'm like Willie on the road again. But that's okay. My secretary has a whip. She said, you get out there and make them payments.
That's right. Somebody's got to pay her bills.
Yeah, but you know, life's good. It's my dad, he wrote poems all the time, and he always told me when I was a kid, he said, October is the most beautiful month of the year. And every October, I never will forget it because the skies are always so blue. There's no clouds, perfect temperature. So he wrote a poem called Oh Beautiful October. So I guess that's where I get my songwriting from, my dad.
I believe so.
Yeah. But I'm glad to be here on Jerry's show. Me and him's been talking and just having fun.
Good. Well, there's a little bit of history here. Back in the day,
Yeah.
Jerry, back in the day, Ronnie McDowell, when I was working at BCU in Union, and God love her, Miss Barbara and I were very, very close friends. And we brought Ronnie in, and we brought him into Gaffney, I believe it was, for the Peach Festival, and then over in Toccoa, Georgia, when I was programming a station. He came over and he presented me with a gold album for The King Is Gone. I'll never, ever forget that event. And Ronnie has been a tremendous force in country music. You don't see his name every day, but behind the scenes, he's one of the most incredible, prolific songwriters and entertainers in country music history.
Well, thank you, Pat. That's awfully nice of you to say that. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, that was almost half a century ago. Can you believe that, Pat?
I do, because I'm right there with you. I'm, gosh, that was in Toccoa, Georgia. I forget what was the guy's name. We worked at ZLI-LET in Toccoa. You would put on a country show once a year. It was at the Toccoa Stevens County High School, and you were there, and you brought out that amazing gold record, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was 47 years ago. Yep. And as a matter of fact, Pat, the 1st of November, I'm back in Toccoa, Georgia. Funny you should bring that up. So after about a half a century, I'm going to be back in Toccoa.
Oh.
Well, let's do it again.
Well, we will. And good to talk to you, Pat.
You too, buddy. You take care of yourself, and Jerry, take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.
See you, brother.
Pat Quinn, that all the way from the beach there. He's radio syndicated, and he's all over the world, his voice is.
Yeah.
And there's another person all over the world that I was going to ask you about. And you said he was a great Elvis fan. He was like little. He dressed like Elvis. And he's one of your favorites. Would it be Bruno Mars?
Yeah. I was at Graceland years and years ago, and these parents brought this little 4-year-old boy up, and he had on an Elvis jumpsuit, a white one. I never will forget it. They said, Ronnie, he just loves you. And Elvis said, would you have your picture made with him? And I looked down at him. He was staring up at me. I said, what's your name? He said, Bruno. I said, Bruno. He said, yep, Bruno Mars. I'll never will forget that. And I just think he's one of the most talented kids on the planet. I really do.
He is. He does. He sounds great.
Yeah.
And no, I just happened to read a little bit on that story there. I said, I got to ask you that.
Yeah.
You've done another song here recently, Marijuana.
Mary Joanna. It's about a girl. It's funny. That is so funny you mentioned that because we're getting ready to release another version of it, which I love. It's funny because everybody associates Mary Joanna with marijuana.
Right.
Well, but, I thought it'd just be a wonderful twist. And up front, I talk about, it's nobody's business but hers and mine. And there's a place I like to. She's my own parent. And I talk about a girl, and her name's Mary Joanna. And I guarantee you somewhere out there in the world, Jerry, there's probably no telling how many girls named Mary Joanna.
Yeah. Hey, can I play just a few minutes of it? A couple minutes of it?
Yeah,
All
do
right.
it.
I'm going to flip it on here now and play.
All right.
She's smoking hot. troubles of the day seem to come my way, there's a place that I like to go. It's my own paradise and my peace of mind, where all my worries just float out the window. All my cares disappear like they were never here. I gotta say, it's my happy time. I don't need an excuse when we wanna get loose, and it's nobody's business but mine. I love my sweet, sweet, sweet Mary Joanna. She makes me feel so fine, like a tall glass of wine, only better.
All right. You know, that's a catchy tune. It kind of reminds me of like Jamaica or somewhere like that.
That's it. You know that you spot on it, because I wanted it to sound like a Jamaican song, like a calypso Jamaican thing. But people just take it one way or the other. But it's truly and honestly about a girl. It's just funny lyric. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was very catchy. I got to listen to it again. That was real funny. So I got to put it on here where everybody can hear and see what it is. But it's pretty good. I noticed that when I first heard this, I was looking on YouTube, and somebody made a comment, says, "That's my daughter right there. That's my beautiful daughter." I didn't catch his name because it had a kind of hashtag name on it
Uh,
that actually did the dance and the girl.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She works at Cracker Barrel,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and she looks like a Jamaican, And I asked her, I said, "You want to be in a video?" And she agreed to do it, and just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you find everything at Cracker Barrel. There you go. Right.
Boy, I'm telling you, I eat there a lot because I don't eat cows and pigs, and again, I've just been eating, healthy pretty much all my life.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. One thing I want to ask you is, where's your next tour? Where people can come and I know they can find you on your website. You got a Facebook page,
Yep.
but what's coming up next?
Well, believe it or not, I'm coming over to your area on the 2nd in the Carolinas with T.G. Shepherd, Janie Fricky, a bunch of my friends. We're doing a show over there, and we're doing that here on the first. We're in Toccoa, then we go to the Carolinas, and then we go to let's see, Baltimore. I get on a plane, fly to Baltimore with my friend Ronnie Dove. Remember Ronnie Dove?
Wow. Yes, sure
So,
do. Wow.
so yeah. Now this coming weekend, we're going to be streaming. We're doing that, and then we fly to. No, we drive to Toccoa, and then we get on a plane in North Carolina and go to Baltimore. So work, work, work.
Yeah. Excuse me one second, okay?
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm sorry. Having little issues with diabetes right now, and I had to go do something right quick. So, but Ronnie, they can see you and hear you, and they can be able to find you on Facebook, on YouTube, and all around.
I hear you.
And now you went away, Ronnie. Me and Ronnie's playing tag here.
Sorry,
There we go.
Jerry.
There we
Sorry.
go. Oh, that's okay. Let me get my headphone back on here. I'm sorry. I'm a diabetic and I have some little issue going on there that I had to do.
Well,
But
I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry. I hope you're doing okay.
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I just had to hit the wrong moment. You know, it's never a good time, stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, Jerry, I just want to thank you for having me on your show.
it was a pleasure. It really was. You sound great. You look great, and I look forward for more things in your life. And I know you can be blessed with it. And just a privilege getting to talk to you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Well, you have a great, beautiful night, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.